Hi, this is Pastor Michelle. I pastor or co-pastor along with my husband who founded the church, um, a small church in Modesto. And this is after years of being in what would be considered not a mega church, but one of the larger churches in a urban area. And then I spent some years at a church that was even larger than that, that was maybe in a suburb with a multicultural congregation. The first church in the urban area was a black church. The second church that I attended but didn't participate in was a multicultural church in a suburb. And then I was part of the planting of a small black church in an urban area, and then a church which is now, I would put it on average, probably a medium-sized church in a suburb area. Started off as a black church, but at this point, 8 years down the road, it is a multicultural church. And then I married my husband and joined him in what would be considered a small church. It's a small church with a very diverse multicultural congregation. And it is probably an older congregation. Most of our congregants are baby boomers or traditionalists, and we do have a few Gen Xers with children. But it would be considered a small church. With all of these experiences in terms of church size, culture, ages, and all the things that happen in church, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot, and many churches, particularly Christian churches, are really have their focus set on increasing attendance and increasing membership. So they're very numbers driven. And I can understand that because most businesses want to be large. And I'm saying businesses because the church is a business, but most businesses want to be large. They want to have high revenues. Businesses want to have high revenues. Churches generally want to have a lot of members and be able to do a lot of good in their community. And generally, the more members you have, the more active members, because you can have a lot of members and not have active members, but the more active members you have, the more work you can do in your community. And also when you have a large number of members, active members, you can have lots of events that are always happening and always going on. And what I have found in my many years of church, that for the most part, many of the churches I've been in, we spend too much time with one another. And then we wonder why our churches aren't growing. And I'm at this point in my ministerial career, I'm definitely not on the numbers campaign for numbers, because what I have seen from many experiences is that the number of people may minimize the number of things that you can do. It also minimizes the number of services you can provide, but it does not really minimize the impact you can have on lives. So we have this small church, and we are definitely making a difference in the lives of the congregants who attend regularly. We have many who don't attend regularly, and we love them. We reach out to them just to show the love of Christ to them, and as their pastors, to show love to them, to show concern for them. But for those who are the more active and kind of come regularly and adhering to the teachings, and we teach biblically sound. We also teach life skills. Not really life skills, but helping people to find the potential and figure out who they are just as a person. So we're not just concerned about what you can do in our church. We're concerned about the person on a whole. What I'm finding at this point in my ministerial career is that I believe that if we focus, even as a small church, if we really, really focus on what it was that Jesus told us to do in the first place, which is to go into all the world and make disciples. He never told us to build church numbers. He never said even converts, even though a disciple is a convert, but he told us to make disciples. He said to us to teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you to do. That first teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, basically means to make them disciples, make them followers of Christ, which means if we're making you a follower of Christ, I cannot make you a follower of my church. I have to teach you and build you up in a way that makes you a follower of Christ. You come to the church where I pastor so that I can continue to help build you up and educate you, if you will, help give you the training and the learning that you need so that you know what it means to be a follower of Christ. And follower of Christ, disciple, okay? So you come to my church so that I can build you up as a disciple of Christ, but you don't come to my church so that you can follow me or my church. I'm supposed to teach you to follow Christ. So that's the first, baptizing them in the teach all nations, is to make disciples, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. Then the next part says, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you to do. That means sit down and talk to them. Tell them the commandments that Jesus said, explaining them the parables that Jesus left when he in the scriptures. He had parables. Jesus taught in parables. He taught in debates. He taught in didactic discourse, which is just discussions. And at the end of all this teaching, as a pastor, I help build you up into a better disciple that can then be a leader. As a leader in your community, but doing it with the understanding and the ways of Jesus Christ. I'm teaching you the commandments of Christ, the commandments that Christ left. I'm teaching you, when I teach you parables and things like that, you get to see the mind of Christ, how he thought and why he did this and why he did that and what he thought about different things. And you get to really, really know Christ. That is our job. That is our job. And I find that in my small church, I can easily do that. I can easily build people up to have one-on-one relationships with Christ. And I pretty much know where and how that relationship with Christ is coming along. With it being a small church, particularly where we're pretty, we don't have lots of lights and camera and action and, the deaconess board and all these boards. So that kind of takes away some of the fighting, if you will, that may happen sometimes in churches when people want positions. There aren't any positions. We're too small for that. So we're really here just concentrating on God, concentrating on our love walk with the Lord, concentrating on getting to know who he is and what it is that he has for us. And more importantly, what it is that he's commanded us to do and how to go out and do that and be that person. And so I just wanted to share, if you are a pastor of a small church, don't despise it. Embrace where you are at this time and understand that even as a small church, you can make such a huge difference in the lives of the people who you touch. You can be so much more focused on meeting their needs and helping them grow individually and develop into strong disciples. And then they, as disciples, will go out and multiply. Now, will they multiply back to your church, local church establishment? They may or may not, but that can't be your focus. It feels good to see lots of numbers, but if you are doing the Great Commission that Christ left for us, if you're seeing lives change, if you're seeing lives impacted, if you are seeing people become even more lovers of Christ than they were when they first came into your building, you are doing a great work. And I hope you will just be encouraged by the work that you are doing. Don't be discouraged by being a small church. Embrace a small church. And I'm telling you, if it is God's will that you become a larger church, a medium-sized church, or whatever the case may be, he will do it in his own timing, and he will do it as he knows that you are fit and able to handle the level of responsibility and decision making that comes along with having that many people and that many moving parts. Until then, embrace what God is doing in your life and in your ministry and in the lives of the people who he's entrusted to your hands. Embrace what's happening right now and just enjoy Jesus. Love him. Love him. That's all I had to say. I hope you are blessed. Have an awesome day.